So last question I want to get to is really just the future. What excites you the most for the next big thing in renal cell carcinoma? It could be front line, it could be second line, could be a new drug, it could be a study. Anybody? Yeah, I want to hear from all three of you. But what do you are most excited about for 2021? ASCO or beyond. In renal cell carcinoma. Monty, you want to start? You're smiling. You got something.
Oh, sure, sure. Yeah, I mean, I think we've covered a ton. Raina had mentioned contaminase inhibitors, lots of, really exciting, targeted compounds emerging for the disease. I just wanted to give a shout out to a study that one of my former fellows from City of Hope wrote. He's now down in Brazil, Paulo Bergero. He wrote this beautiful trial looking at Evo-Ipi in combination with a probiotic. We're actually most of the way through enrollment to this single institution study. But I'm hoping that we'll see more of that, trials that come out that really try to hinge on other elements of RCC biology, acknowledging that, just hitting one target isn't necessarily going to work for every patient's disease. So this is a study that randomizes patients to either Nivo-Ipi alone or Nivo-Ipi combination with this very unique oral probiotic that increases beneficial species within the gut, things like bifidobacteria, Akkermansia, and may actually promote Nivo-Ipi's activity.
Fascinating. You've published some great work in this area, and I think again this is this is really recognizing there's sort of unappreciated interactions between the host and these drugs and ways to manipulate. I think that's very cool. Raina, do you have a favorite out there? Maybe it's your trial with radium. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. We've got our radium cabozantinib with or without radium for people with bone metastases and RCC, looking at introducing a radiopharmaceutical in the solid tumor space beyond prostate cancer. That trial is currently enrolling through the Alliance. I think you brought up an interesting point of sort of the patterns of progression and the use of focal therapy and working through NRG on a focal therapy trial for progression post-IO. So I think there's opportunity for kind of integration of multi-modality and different mechanisms of action. I think, we sort of know the new kids on the block of the MK6482. Excited to see how that's going to show in clinical trials, and probably one of the most tolerable agents out there, barring some anemia and in some patients hypoxia that's easily reversible. So I think it's exciting to see the novel mechanisms of action of the growing list of new agents that are currently in testing.
Fantastic, fantastic. And Niraj, do you have a favorite out there?
Yeah, I'd just like to add, in the immediate future, I'm really looking at the approval of cabozantinib with nivolumab. I'm sure that will be very impressive, so cannot wait to see those PFS, OS hazard ratios, knowing that cabozantinib is the best TKI among all the TKIs and, for metastatic RCC. Other trial I feel excited about, having used high-dose interleukin-2 for many years, is the NECTAR-214 drug, which is the pegylated interleukin-2. And that is being tested, as we know, in different trials with NECTAR-214 plus nivolumab versus control arm of cabozantinib versus sunitinib. It is a real-world study. Well, control arm also includes cabozantinib. There is another trial with NECTAR-214 plus EP plus Nivo versus EP-Nivo. I think the trial is already moving forward. So all these trials will hopefully give us higher complete responses, which will be more durable. Looking at the history of high-dose interleukin-2, I think I'm really looking forward to higher CRs and more durable CRs with this combination.
Fantastic, fantastic. And really thanks to all of you for this, I think, rich and informative discussion. So before we conclude, I'd just like to get final thoughts from each of you. So first, Niraj, any final thoughts?
We can talk about all the data we can, but I think what really comes down to treatment decision-making, as Raina said earlier, patients' wishes, patients' preference, and patients' view about how the disease should be treated. So I think keeping that in mind, I think immunotherapy combinations or the VEGF TKI plus immunotherapy combinations are playing a huge role in fulfilling those wishes of our patients.
Fantastic, fantastic. And Reina, any thoughts on your end?
No, I mean, the treatment landscape for advanced RCC has been rapidly changing. The paradigm has been shifting over the last, decade and a half. Patients are living longer, they're living better. And, but we still have a lot of work to do. There's still gaps, in where we are with treatment. So it's been exciting to see these changes, take place and be a part of that process. And, but I think, until every person with, RCC is cured, we still have work to do. So.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Monty, you get the final word.
That sound a little wonky, something we didn't talk much about today, but I would say maybe get genomic profiling done if you feel comfortable. I know at this point in time, it might seem to have more limited applicability in renal cell carcinoma, say, versus lung cancer. But, in terms of making these second, third, fourth line decisions based on biology, we could look for the usual suspects like core pathway alteration. I just saw a paper pop up today from the Journal of the SITC group that suggested that 20% of renal cell patients have DNA damage repair alterations, right? So I think down the line, it's going to be useful to have those genetic bits of data in your back pocket as treating patients, especially for non-clear cell.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, thank you all again, and thanks to our viewing audience. We hope you found this OncLive peer exchange discussion to be useful and informative.